Okay, Nick, where's Nick? Nick Young, he's the MCM National Sales Director. Come and sit here, Nico. Don't clap anyone, we don't need to do that. Michael Stevenson, 9 Chief Sales Officer. You can clap, Steve-o. No. Luke Smith, he's a 7 Network Head of Programmatic Sales and Audiences. And I hadn't met Luke before, so welcome, Luke. You're relatively new to town, is that right?
Been back 7 months.
Okay, well, welcome back. And Nicole Turley, I think she's well known to everyone. She's our feisty Mediacom Chief Investment Officer. I'd love to repeat the conversation that we had backstage, but I don't think I'll be doing that.
Please don't.
Okay, hi everyone. So addressable TV is the subject matter that we want to talk about, and I thought what we would do is just continue down sort of the 101 route.
Yep.
You know, given that you've done the definitions there, Kim, I actually think it's almost worth, if you've got the thing there, the jigger there, it's worth keeping addressable TV definition up on screen. I also just, if I may, just wanted to congratulate Think TV on just their continuing to get great information out into the market.
That's very nice, thank you.
Not at all.
Beyond my capability.
Let's get on with it. Okay, so Steve-o, I'm obviously very interested. Are you able to do it? Very interested, just more broadly. Let's not get straight into addressable. Immediately, let's just talk about TV. How's it going? You know, what's the audience? What are the audiences up to? Where's the revenue going? The multi-screening, etc. So just give us a bit of a snapshot of industry, please.
Gosh, what a responsibility.
Go for it. Then we'll ask the others to give you a hand.
Let me start by saying, I think a few people have mentioned it this morning already, that I don't reckon there's a better time to be a part of our industry than is right now. It's super exciting. From a television perspective, all of our individual businesses, whether it's 7, it's 9, it's 10 or it's Foxtel, are all pivoting towards the future. And the future looks incredibly bright from where I see it. If you think about the investment that we're all making into content, we'll spend almost $3 billion this year creating local Australian content that all of the brands that you guys represent here today can tell their stories through. I think that's critically important.
So when you say 3 billion, so that's 3 billion, that's 7 plus 9 plus 10 plus Foxtel, 3 billion.
There or thereabouts, $3 billion in local Australian content. We've all made massive investments into data, both in our own individual businesses, creating our own data infrastructures, but also at an industry level, and the work that OzTam are doing and the work that Think TV are doing to facilitate the ability to target either in a premium audience environment, like Kim just described, or via addressable television is incredibly important. Mm-hmm. And obviously, then enabling advertisers to access that data within those premium environments. We've all made pretty significant investments into our own technologies, whether it's Code 7 or it's iGalaxy or it's Landmark. And then obviously the announcement that we made this week, whereby as an industry we will have a portal that will allow media buyers and planners to come into our individual systems to brief and buy television. So I think the industry is in great shape. There is a lot more to do, clearly. I had a conversation just a week or so ago with someone who asked me a question around traditional media. And my response to that person was, I don't really have a view on it, to which they were quite surprised, coming from 9. And they asked me why I didn't. I said, because at 9, and I think I speak on behalf of the guys as well, we work in digital businesses that happen to have video and television assets. We have premium content supported by great data and enriched and delivered via world-class advertising technology. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that stuff has happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So, long way of answering your very short question. Has the industry? I reckon it's in pretty good shape.
Good on you. So Nick,
Yes.
No,
a lot
not
of
Nicole.
buzzwords in there, Steve.
No, not Nicole. Sorry, I'm going to go to Nick first.
Oh.
So just Nick, you haven't been back. You haven't been here for long.
It's not confusing.
We're not onto addressable yet. Just Nick, again, some observations.
That's Luke.
That's Luke. Sorry, Luke. Not you.
Right next to
Luke.
We did practice this, did we?
Yeah.
So observations of the market so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I've got to say, the Australian market, I think at the last conference that was in Sydney, it was talked about that the Australian market is quite advanced, and listen, I've got to agree with that. I liken us as a group as to having the last mover advantage, in that we've acknowledged the fact that audiences have been consuming content online, but we also acknowledge the fact that they want premium content, and they want advertisers want brand safety, and they want viewability and their completion rates. And we're in the fortunate position that we've all been able to go out and actually build products that meets both what users actually are wanting and also what advertisers are demanding as well. So we're certainly I'd say a step ahead globally.
Great. Okay, so let's start talking about addressable. So Nicole,
Yes.
when we were having a look at Kim's definition, you said, "Oh, I don't agree with that," which was very helpful.
Look, I think to clarify,
So tell us about that.
To
To
clarify,
clarify.
I mostly agree. I think that we need to do a better job communicating to us, agencies and marketers, clients, exactly what it means. That's probably our next step. I think where the confusion is that everyone here is on a different journey and at a different stage. So whether it's ID based, whether it's household, whether it's segment, addressable TV actually means different things to all three networks. So that's where the confusion is too, and where we need to explain that to clients.
Okay.
I don't think it means different things. I just think we all have different products.
Yes.
So I
Or
think
similar products at different stages of their development.
Again,
Okay, clear as mud.
crystal clear.
Okay. So tell us about where MCN's at with it.
So from an MCM perspective, well, if we take a step back for a second, I think to just clarify that, in terms of the different stages around that, you've got obviously IP-delivered devices that do two forms, the BVOD form where you can overlay with data, which is essentially what we talked about previously. The live feed, which some of us are at a different stage where we're pulling out the linear through the connected devices and then insert and add insertions within that. And then there's the sort of holy grail of sort of addressable linear TV. So from an MCM perspective, we're at different stages across those different areas. We're all heavily involved in BVOD. We're working heavily, and we've got a little bit to do around the live stitching across the IP delivered devices. And also, we're sort of taking our first steps into that linear addressable with our Smart Hub launch that we launched a couple of weeks ago. And previously before that, our programmatic TV product, which is essentially using the set-top box data, viewing behaviour data, overlaying that with spend data, and then creating a more effective and efficient advertising solution. It's not a one-to-one communication. It's not at household level. It's about overlaying spend data to create more effective and efficient TV advertising.
So let's talk about what's happening in other markets. We look to US or we look to Europe, look to UK. So just give us a bit of a sense on how advanced or how not sure what the status is. So maybe Kim, I might start with you.
The primary difference is that there's technology and data that enables different ways to contact, provide messages. So if you look to the US, from a data point of view, you see things like OpenAP, which some of you will have heard about, which is a couple of broadcasters have gotten together and are pooling their data. From an Australian point of view, we're working on some stuff that we'll be sharing, which is total industry as opposed to a couple of broadcasters, which I think is really important. And so from a currency point of view, you actually get a much bigger and broader picture. So I would say that within a matter of weeks, it will become quite clear that the data capabilities of the Australian industry surpasses certainly the US. The UK probably a bit further ahead, and particularly Sky with some of their work where they have much, their technology, their ad smart technology enables you to kind of get closer into that one-to-one delivery. But again, from an industry point of view, Sky is one broadcaster. It's not necessarily an industry capability. So I would echo Nick Turley's comments, which is different broadcasters and different businesses are in different places. And quite frankly, that makes a whole pile of sense because they're different businesses doing different things. The good news is you've got a spectrum, pardon me. Oh, that was gross.
Well done.
Wasn't it?
I think-
Oh, God, I'm so sorry.
There goes my case of man flu.
That was gross. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'll just catch my
Carry
breath.
on, Kim.
So I would say from a data point of view, absolutely, we're leading. I would say from a technology point of view, if you look at the individual offerings from the various commercial broadcasters, they're designed to do different things, but they are certainly, some of them are better than I've seen in the UK.
Right.
And then from an insertion programmatic addressable, I would say that we've got some work to do, and probably the UK is marginally ahead on that.
Okay. So, Luke, any observations on that? Or Nicole, just what's going on around the world?
Oh, look, I don't disagree with Kim. I think that we have moved at a rapid pace lately, far greater than what I personally expected. To Kim's point, where I'd like to see us go is around the data piece, because from a buy side, I don't have visibility in terms of the IP or the data. It's all different for each one. So I highly welcome an industry panel. And I think the biggest thing, which I think we'll talk about later, is measurement, right? It's one thing to plan an audience segment, but how do we know? We want the data, we want the measurement, and that's what our clients ask from us.
I think that's a really important point in the fact that in this rapid change that we're going through as a TV industry, we shouldn't lose what makes us unique and different and great. And one of those areas, and I come from the digital side, over the last 2 years, that is particularly great about the TV side of the business is the current unification around measurement and currency and those things. So even though we're going on our different journeys, we have to align to provide that united industry voice. Otherwise, we lose what makes us unique.
It's almost that we've got TV advertisers in the room and they view us almost as digital, and digital advertisers view us as being TV. I think, we definitely need to agree on metrics and what is the benchmark of success on an addressable campaign. I think, and I think the sooner that we can do that, we're trying to scale audiences. We still need to be able to scale them even further. What we do with that audiences, I think, is the next iteration of how we go about it. Making sure that we're all aligned and in agreement.
Okay.
I mean, Group M have launched a product, Finecast, in the UK and the US and also Australia, specifically for addressable, and they're seeing some great results for clients in terms of ROI, brand uplift, and it's all about more business outcomes rather than CPM and TARPs, which, as we know, I never want to talk about again.
Oh, good. So I realised that, Kim, the train's left the station.
In what regard?
Addressable.
Right.
But I want to have a conversation though just about this whole thing. It makes me think about the opt-in, opt-out of the health system. So we're now in a situation where we've got to decide. So a database that's been built, and it's been built because it can be built. And as a result of it being built, we now have to make a call about whether we want to be involved or not. So that in itself, I think, is really interesting. So is addressable TV a situation where we can do it, therefore we will, but do you actually need it?
Yeah, so I'm going to challenge you on that. I think market forces will dictate what lives and what dies. If you're getting better results from Finecast and others that are going to deliver you a superior commercial outcome and the consumer, wants that personalised message, then that kind of campaign will continue. That said, I made the mistake of going on holiday a couple of weeks ago, and I looked up a room in, Bucharest. I got hunted down online with the Bucharest hotel ad. So I think there's some flaws in the system, and TV has learned from some of that stuff. Should you do it because you can? No, you should do it because it drives a business outcome. Will it be something that gets invested in? If people make money and it works, yes, they will, and if it doesn't, it won't.
Okay. So Nicole, we were having the conversation around the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this morning, is that in my era, when I watched TV, if I saw a shaving cream ad, it wouldn't have pissed me off. However, my sister, who's 10 years younger, the expectation from the consumer is it is targeted, it is personalised, and it is for me. To your point, Kim, I don't disagree. There needs to be some frequency capping on retargeting. That is highly annoying.
Yeah.
Google, thank you. But
Ouch.
yeah, I mean, the expectation is there for it to be personalised. I've got two young kids, a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they expect when they see stuff for it to be tailored to them. They don't want to see an auto ad. It's not relevant. So there is an expectation of the era that's growing up with this dynamic creative or personalised creative,
And to kind of
that we adhere to that.
Okay.
step in from a client, just to be a CMO. From a client point of view, this whole this whole universe is just one half of the equation. The idea that you're going to be able to and need to create multiple amounts of creative for similar messages with slightly different lenses is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it is going to be a challenge, and so pick up an adoption from a client business is going to be reliant on, you know, making sure that you're taking advantage of the technology and the avenues that are open to your audience. So I think we need to just kind of, you know, the creative agencies need to work with us as well to make sure that we've got that done effectively and efficiently on behalf of
And
clients.
that's it's the practical. I don't think it's a question of whether we should, right? Because I think if in any media, when you're overlaying data and creating more efficiencies, it drives business results and works. But it is about the practical application. And I think addressable in this country is going to be different from that of the UK and the US because we are a country of 24 million people. And, you know, take the lessons learned from digital. In Australia, no matter how good your data is, no matter how broad that is, once you go past location, age, gender, and one consumer segment, you end up targeting 4 people in South Melbourne.
That's
for
right.
like 40 grand a pop.
So thank you.
And like, just like that's not what this is about. This is about creating more effective and efficient advertising, but still shifting the dial for brands and selling products at scale.
I'm pleased you went there.
But to do,
'cause-
and
No.
it's an excellent point, but which plays to the fact that the fundamentals of marketing have never changed.
Absolutely.
So targeting someone to within an inch of his life is important at a certain part of that cycle.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're not on the consideration set at the very top of the funnel, it is completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
It is important.
So addressable advertising in isolation is not the solution to anyone's challenge.
Yeah.
It is a part of
Agreed.
a solution which requires a much broader media ecosystem to survive.
I think there's something interesting in terms of market sizing. So Australia is different. Yeah, so the way Australia operates as an economy is different.
Yes.
And I'm interested, I don't know that, right? I don't know. I'm interested in how we see the market size going for addressable TV. Is the market there? Are the CPMs there? Does that bring in the revenue that actually allows you to make the programming that you need to make in order to have the top of the funnel, right? I'm interested in market sizing, CPMs, measurement, just the economics of it, yeah? Because I get that I get the capabilities there,
Yeah.
and I get that you can do it in the US,
Yep.
but picking that up and saying it works here, I think we need to scrutinise it.
So Michael just mentioned before that $3 billion, I think it was, in this industry is being spent on content across all the networks. I mean, the IAB came out with the stat that the online video market is worth $1.1 billion in the Australian market. Now, how much we make up at $1.1 billion? So, you know, there's a shortfall there. So, you know, is addressable going to be, you know, it, and we're going to have the scale? No, definitely not. I see that addressable is, you know, one ingredient in the overall success of a campaign. You still need the reach of TV to be able to drive that top of funnel activity. But at the same time, addressable is giving us the tools in which, you know, from contextually relevant environments or contextually relevant audiences, or perhaps specific audiences based on behaviours and propensities that advertisers can reach it. But if you just want to target people that are buying chocolate bars and you're a chocolate bar advertiser, your ecosystem is going to get smaller, and we need to make sure that we've got that scale.
It depends how you clarify your marketplace, though, I think.
Right.
So if you think traditionally my competitive set would have been the guys at 7 and the guys at 10 and the guys at MCN, and don't get me wrong, I fiercely compete with those guys and we like to win. But the marketplace is far greater than that
Agreed.
today. So when I'm thinking about the addressable marketplace, I'm not just thinking about people who are looking to buy addressable television. Right now, you know, in my view, my humble opinion, far too much money goes to Facebook and Google. And so that's my new marketplace. I spend far more time thinking about the new addressable marketplace and why an addressable product in premium content areas that are brand safe and viewable and all of those good things that Nick wants
Sound on.
can happen in my world.
Yeah.
And for that, if I think about that, then the addressable marketplace is significant and large, and that's where I want to compete.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in the UK with the AdSmart product. The AdSmart product in the UK that they've used has actually opened up new markets around more localised advertising because it's far more geo-targeted than the current model. And therefore, you've got new advertisers coming on board to the TV market that never were there before.
Okay, so new advertisers come in as a result. So can we see that occurring? Now, I know we're all going to say yeah, but who? Who's coming? Who's saying, well, hang on.
Well, it all comes down to how they price it, yeah? So,
Yeah, so let's talk about
price it.
CPMs then. Let's talk about CPMs.
Oh God, let's talk about,
Yeah.
no, let's talk about value.
That was exactly my point.
The CPM conversation is inane.
It should now be around
What's that?
effectiveness, not efficiency.
It's like saying, is $3 for this bottle of water a really good price? I don't know. I feel like death warmed up. I'd pay you $10. The point of it is not, it's what it's worth to me, not what is the shelf price of the water. I mean, I get very fired up about that conversation.
Well, keep getting fired up. Tell us why.
Because
in the end, the market does buy on CPM.
Sophisticated buyers look at the value that any media delivers to their business. If you're having a conversation with somebody who wants it for 5 cents, then so be it, and there's ways to do that in the total video environment. My view as an ex-CMO is that if you're focused on what you're paying as opposed to what you're getting, your CEO and your CFO, they're going to be really short conversations.
Yeah. So I think we could all agree that addressable will equal a premium.
Absolutely. And look, as a chief investment officer, I know shouldn't say this, but I'm happy to pay more for it. I mean, we've had examples overseas where the business outcome.
What's the multiple?
But again, to Kim's point, it's the value. If we can measure it and quantify, it drives sales, foot traffic, whatever the business outcome is, and there is less wastage or bonus reach. Whatever
bonus reach.
That was something I learned today. I didn't know about. I thought it was fill up it. Anyway. But if there is a way I'm quite happy to pay more if it drives a greater ROI for our clients. So when we can prove that, absolutely. I'd much rather spend more money knowing that it's far more targeted and it's driving business outcome for my client. I don't want to talk about CPMs and TARPs anymore.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm very vocal about that and have been for a long time.
Okay, so what do you buy on?
Well,
Outcomes.
that unfortunately is the currency of which we trade today, but the technology and the data, whether it be addressable, programmatic, dynamic, fixed, is giving us the opportunity to start to have different conversations around business outcomes.
The relative simplicity of our market in Australia compared to overseas markets allows us to deliver against all of those expectations, because in the not too distant future, you're going to have a marketplace that has a single data set, a single currency, a single unit of measurement that everybody can trade against. Whether you want to buy 25, 54 men or beer drinkers, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to do that across the entire industry, and you'll be able to do it clearly at a price. There is always a price conversation, and that's a part of doing business. But the effectiveness of that advertising with complete alignment at an industry level is something that no other market in the world can do because of their complexities and our relative simplicity. And that is not far away, which is, I think the work that Kim has done specifically in terms of leading Think TV to prove the power and effectiveness of television in all of its forms has been fantastic and valuable, and I think it's resonating with people, and that work will continue over the course of the next couple of years. And in actual fact, I think in a couple of weeks' time there's some more research coming out that will prove what happens when you move money from your current addressable marketplace into the broader television ecosystem, and what impact that can have on your business in terms of driving sales. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for, and if we lose sight of that, then I think we lose sight of everything.
So let's talk about some client conversations that you guys are having now. And I suppose I want to understand their excitement levels around addressable, or their skepticism, or just the sentiment that's going on. So
at the moment, it is twofold. There are certain outliers that are out there testing this. And they are generally the ones that have very sophisticated metrics to define what the outcomes were in terms of sales. Outside of that, it's very much an education process and understanding. There are clients that are looking at saying, look, I just want to target 25-54s, that's my audience. So therefore, it's not relevant for those, and it's picking for the ones that have different elements of their brief or their KPIs that are relevant to this type of product. And to the point that we've discussed today, the capability there is to give clients the flexibility to choose it on a campaign level and a product level, depending on what their KPIs are. And I think clients are very interested. They're looking at understanding of that. And in many cases, they're starting to stick their foot in the water and test.
Any comments?
The conversations I have with marketers are overwhelmingly positive. I think they've seen a huge change in the pivot that we've all made in the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah.
And we should have done too, and possibly earlier.
Yeah.
I think the pace of change is rapid. They're excited by the alignment that we have as an industry, which we do. Between 7, 9, 10 and Foxtel, there is complete alignment around this type of stuff.
Yeah.
They're excited about the ability to target more effectively without targeting down to the minutiae in South Melbourne, but targeting more broadly to get the best out of today's television in all of its forms. They're excited about technology and automation. And through all of our platforms, we're seeing more people engage with that to make buying and selling television easier. And they're all I think they're all incremental steps. What I've learned is that nothing goes from there to there. You've just got to move on the margin, and I think that's what marketers are doing.
Yeah, and Luke, any?
Well, I'd say 8 months ago our product didn't exist as we brought all our long form content back over. So in that time, we've had a lot of goodwill from market who have really responded well in terms of taking the opportunities up with 7+. So there are advertisers, there are digital advertisers who are used to doing this and that they want to do more BVOD activity. And then there are other ones that are looking at, what's the incremental reach that I'm going to be able to get through addressable. And so there is a lot of testing, there is a lot of learning. We had one case study with a travel advertiser, I can't mention the name, but where they really did want to get work out what is the effectiveness of running an addressable campaign. We saw uplift in brand awareness, in online ad awareness, in favourability, and in consideration as well. So we know it works. I think the test now is to increase the number of advertisers that we've got using our respective platforms.
So Nicole, obviously, so what's going on? The publishers are investing in the ability to provide an addressable option. So tell us, in the world of Group M, Medicom, so I imagine that you guys are looking at what you can do to help this.
Yeah, excuse me, it's a really good point. I think that although we have great alignment, which is brilliant, from a buyer side it's still challenging because excuse me, as they've needed to, each organisation has needed to invest in their own technology. I believe agencies now have a role to play in order to set up from a buy side, because again, I don't have a desire to have a single view of Channel 9, a single view of Channel 10 and a single view of Channel 7, whether it be fixed, dynamic, programmatic or addressable. I want one view.
But you do have a single view of Facebook, of Twitter and every other social platform. There isn't a social technology for you to buy.
But then we're not talking about a wholly combined reach and frequency, which is still our current metric, that we buy broadcast or audio visual, television, whatever is the... Sorry, Kim, where's the definition of it?
It's an experience. Enjoy it across screen at any time of your choosing.
Right now, I can't measure the reach that is across all of my friends here due to the technologies. Now, I'm saying it's not necessarily up to them to create. It might be an industry thing, and Think TV have already made huge strides in terms of creating the platform of which the buyer can come in and see the inventory, whether that's in isolation or together, but I need to be able to run, whether it's a business outcome or a reach and frequency, across all of you, not in isolation.
So Kim, let's talk about future state then. So, I don't know, let's pick a time frame. 3 years, maybe?
3 years, okay.
So we're
very generous, Russell.
What's it look like in 3 years? And then open it up to everyone here. Any questions for the panel as well, right? So give us a feel of where you see it going.
So hit predictions, which is always a disaster 3 years on, isn't it?
But don't worry, we would have forgotten.
You're good. I would say that you'll be able to access 7, 9, 10 and Foxtel and potentially the regional broadcasters as well through a single portal.
So I go through and then everyone's
through
there.
and then everybody will do their thing because they're different businesses, and the decisions about what they trade programmatically and not is an inventory question for individuals. I think we will have an industry-wide data set. I think that data set will enable precise audience targeting on its own. I think we'll have cross-screen reach and frequency measures. I'd be really surprised if we don't have that. And I think what will happen is that it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. So, you've got still a job to do on live, linear. You've still got a job to do an addressable depending on the campaign. And I think that the other piece of it is you will be able to join whatever your data set is if you've got one. And that will enrich both backwards and forwards in terms of first, second and third party data.
Nice vision there. So, Steve-O and colleagues, let's talk about revenue.
It's going to get awkward.
No, if this future that's just been painted, and then the notion of addressable, the notion that addressable, yes, the clients will see that there's more value in that. So where do you see the revenues going?
Up.
Good.
Oh, I think I go back to my earlier point that the marketplace that we operate in is changing. So, talking about a share of revenue of a free-to-air metropolitan television market, quite frankly, is old-fashioned and not helpful. The video market is a much more exciting place to be in. If I can be even more broader than that, there's the total advertising market. So, the deals that we'll do into the future will be more around a total volume as opposed to shares of something. And I think that allows you to, I think that changes the scope in terms of the way in which you think. If I think, not in 3 years, but probably in 12 months, I don't know, at some point far sooner than 3 years away.
Nobody gave me 3 years.
Most of us, I think, will have a similar sort of structure whereby you have strategic and insights-driven conversations with advertisers to help them tell their stories through your content.
Yep.
And you'll have the ability for brands to communicate with audiences more effectively through a greater level of targeting than we have today. So think about data enabled with great technology. So data and technology at one end, strategy and insights-driven conversations at the other, and then in the middle, a group of sort of business partners that can help people understand how to navigate through our ecosystem. And underpinning all of that is a data infrastructure that must have signed-in consumers. Because if you go back to that addressable product, you can only deliver addressable advertising if you have a signed-in user.
Yeah.
So 6.5 million users through 9Now today and growing. Everybody else at some point will have a similar sort of thing, there's no doubt. And then supported by technology, it'll all be automated.
Yeah.
That allows you to operate in the same marketplace that Google and Facebook do.
You have reminded me of a question that I forgot to ask. What does the consumer need to have? What tech do they need to have to receive an addressable?
Any connected device.
They don't
Any
need
connected device?
Yeah, it's the technology that's in your pocket will do it if you've got the sign in.
Okay, so
But
I'm at
interestingly
home.
though,
I'm in my living room and I'm watching my telly.
Are you watching it through connected TV or live sport?
I'm watching connected TV, but I'm just thinking about just the average punter, right? So what are the numbers there?
Yeah, half 50% of the consumption of any of our BVOD product, give or take, is being consumed through a connected television.
Yeah, great.
So if you're a signed-in 9Now user and you're watching Love Island, right?
I've been meaning
You will get advertising.
I've been hooked on Pointless. So
Great show.
So, any questions? Here we go, sir.
There we go. So, assuming that addressable advertising creates access for advertisers that haven't been able to access TV or kind of broadcast video, as Sky has enabled, is it fair to assume that the ad experience for consumers will be weaker, given smaller advertisers will potentially not have the higher quality advertising creative experience? And therefore, does that potentially play into the hands of subscription models if the ad experience becomes poorer?
So you have to...
Interesting.
Basically, our ads going to become worse?
Aren't they
So
already?
that has to be monitored from a creative standards perspective, absolutely. But without going into very specifics, the feedback from Sky is it's actually enhanced the viewing experience as well as the ad experience, and they've seen viewing figures go up as a result of this because the ads are more targeted, more relevant. As long as you're monitoring that, Bob's Carpets, Buy Now ad experience, and I think that that's reasonably easy to do now in more creative services ways. And media owners stepping up into the more creative service ways is an opportunity within that, although I don't see that as a business model that we work to.
And I can't help but answer it a little. The notion that television advertising is expensive to make, it's not really as right now as it was. There's lots of platforms that enable you to do it at an insanely low price. Steve, did you want to say something? No? Okay, any other questions? There must be, come on.
You're letting us off very easy.
Yeah. Well, we're in countdown on our clock as well. So we just
Oh, all right.
all right. Does anyone want to say anything in closing? Nicole, you've always got plenty to say.
Look, I'm really excited. As Steve-O said earlier, I've been in media for over 21 years, and yes, I started when I was 5, clearly, by my age, is outside of the WW World Wide Web being introduced. This is the greatest and most exciting change I've seen for our industry, and it's not just addressable. It is about how everything is now digital, how everything is personalised, how clients can advertise to their customer at the right time with the right message on the right device, and that's pretty cool.
Good on you. I think we do have a question. Hey there.
Hey. How will Australian internet speeds affect take-up of addressable TV?
Who wants to pick up that one?
Well, I'm not sure
Thanks,
if
Noel.
I'm not sure if speeds have actually increased. We've obviously got the NBN, but I think it's what we can actually put through the pipes currently.
Yeah.
I think that's really where the technology is at in terms of the amount of information that can go through the existing infrastructure, and the fact that we can stream high def quality video at the moment is. I'm still on ADSL. That hasn't changed, and I'm still able to do that. Is encouraging. So I think.
What about for regional?
Well, for regional, in terms of at the same time, there's NBN in terms of the rollout. I know anyone that I know lives in rural Victoria at the moment has access to NBN, and their streaming speeds are far faster than what I've got at home.
Thank you. One last call. Here we go. Last question. Hi, sir.
How do you see your commercial organisations changing with the way that people will be buying this media now, and you'll be having more? You'll have more buyers in the market. Will that change the way that you actually service those clients?
Yeah, absolutely. We are looking at different ways of working, and it's a combination around automation and people, and looking at the different ways that those two work from. It's a constant debate even now around what I call the generalist versus specialist debate around sales and delivery of that sales result, around programmatic teams versus sales teams versus integrated versus not. And I do see a merging of all of those different areas where you will have a combination of both generalists to go out and meet with clients and talk about the benefits of TV, and then we will change our organisations internally to have specialists that facilitate on those buys on a day-to-day level. And I think managing the breadth of clients is a management between the technologies and the automation services that we can provide and the personnel on the ground, and that's a balance that we're constantly sort of working through.
I'd definitely add to that. In this whole world of automated trading, people are still incredibly important. Some people think they can just set and forget and run a campaign, but no, people are still important to make sure that campaign is delivering and is hitting the objectives that they need. The means with which they execute it makes no difference. People are important.
So technology plays a significant part in that from my perspective. So, don't get me wrong, people are our most important resource. And as I explained, if you think about strategy and insights and data and technology, and then business partners kind of leading the way in terms of the relationship that they would have to facilitate a transaction. But at the same time, if we're going to open up ourselves to a significantly broader market, then you have to have the technology to facilitate that. So, we're at GAT9 Galaxy 1.0. We've had to sign off on investment to 4.0. And as a part of that will include a technology that will allow people to interface straight into our system. Yeah. So as some other platforms have in terms of a self-service model, I want that people to be able to do that.
Thank you. All right, we better wind it up. We're getting the flashing lights here. So, Kim, thank you very much for inviting me to moderate today.
My pleasure.
It's been lovely to talk TV again. And to Nicole and Luke, Steve-O, Nick, thank you very much, and cheers, everyone.
Thanks, guys. That was a great panel.